speaking of Spider-Man and Spider-Man adjacent characters, Venom 3. So this year, quietly, which is so interesting to me, we are going to get, unless Kraven the Hunter gets delayed, we are going to get 3 films. 3 films. That is 3 times the amount of films that came out from the MCU this year. We're going to get 3 films that are coming from Sony's Spider-Man universe. That is kind of a crazy sentence to me. That is, guys, that is more than 3 times, and I'm being facetious, obviously, there was only one MCU movie, but that is 3 times more than, the MCU and DCEU and DCU, whatever the DC universe is, because obviously Joker's coming out this year, but it's more than 3 times the amount that, of those films coming out combined. So just a really interesting stat that this year, in the year where comic book movies are, maybe not coming out in as full of force, guess who's dominating the space? At least quantity-wise, because let's not talk about Madam Web here, but, quantity-wise, there are 3 Sony Spider-Man films without Spider-Man in them, but, Sony Spider-Man universe character films, I don't even know what to call them, coming out in 2024. So we have the next one, which is going to be Venom: The Last Dance, Venom 3. Now, the Venom franchise, because I have not put myself to seeing Madam Web. I just can't do it, and I'm not going to do it until I absolutely have to, because I probably will at some point, just because I'm a completionist and I have to, probably see, for my own sake, I want to see all the films in this crazy universe. I've seen Venom 1, I've seen Venom 2, I've seen Morbius. And so, Venom 1, I thought really fun. I really enjoyed Venom 1. It's a crazy, kind of goofy, buddy comedy kind of movie with some violence in it, which is just kind of crazy. Venom: Let There Be Carnage, I was a little bit less excited about. In fact, when I saw it, and I've only seen it once, I just not as thrilled with it as I was with the first Venom. It had some fun moments for sure. I just kind of think they wasted Carnage, and they didn't do a really great job of building out a full story. The film was something like an hour and 40 minutes too, which I respect that. A lot of Pixar films, for example, which, some Pixar films are my all-time favorite films, are like an hour and a half, and I think that they're wonderful. But I think that Venom: Let There Be Carnage just kind of felt really stilted and really short. So we have this third film now, which is going to be Venom: The Last Dance. And look, I saw the first trailer for this, and I thought it looks about as good as maybe the trailers for the other Venom films, which is to say, I didn't love the trailers for the other Venom films, but I liked them enough, right? And when I watched the first Venom film, I thought, this is really fun. They kind of took all the goofy parts of that film and put them in the trailer, and so that's probably why I didn't really love the trailer for Venom 1. And Venom 2, I thought the trailers were fine. I thought the first trailer for Venom: The Last Dance was also just fine. So went into watching the second and probably final trailer for Venom: The Last Dance, because it's going to be coming out in about a month. And you know what? I really enjoyed this trailer. I would say probably this is my favorite trailer out of any of the Venom films that have come out. I think that it was really showing the things that we love the most. And by we, I mean people who, like myself, have really fallen in love with the Eddie Venom dynamic. But it's really showcasing the things that we really enjoy the most about Venom. And I think that that's fun. It's showing the dynamic between the two characters, that there is a genuine kind of care between them, even though it's kind of crazy because there's a symbiote, it's an alien, it's a black goo guy who's always grinning, talking to Tom Hardy, who I can honestly barely understand in half the trailer, and I can barely understand him in half the movies, but that's fine. It's not really about the dialogue anyways. So there's that. And I also think the last trailer, right, for Venom: The Last Dance, the first one, I guess, I think was a little bit disjointed because they were just trying to show too much. And that was my worry based on the first trailer, was that this is a little bit too much. There's a little bit too much going on. But I think what the second trailer did really well was that it showed, how the different subplots are starting to intersect and interweave together, right? Because now we have the introduction of Null, the symbiote god. And we all kind of thought, did Sony and Marvel make a deal when they were doing Gore the God Butcher? Because if you know the comics, Null, the symbiote god, has a big role to play with the sword that Gore the God Butcher is wielding in Thor: Love and Thunder. Whether that was really confirmed in the canon of the MCU, not really sure. But anyways, so we get our first confirmation of the symbiote god, Null, and I think it's really interesting that they talk about how all the symbiotes are running away. We get a lot of scenes in Vegas with Eddie Brock, which I think it's just fun, right, to see Eddie and Venom in really crazy, weird situations. We see a little bit more of Chiwetel Ejiofor as presumably the human villain, although I'm sure there's a bunch of other symbiote villains, toxins in the film. Every film is going to be, up against another version of Venom. And I'm a little bit tired of that, honestly, at this point. But I think that the introduction of someone like Null is interesting because it adds a little bit of an interesting new dimension to the characters in Venom. And so that's really, really fun. And honestly, I said this the first time because I didn't do a podcast or I didn't do a video around when the first trailer came out. But I mean, the first trailer had one of them or both of them are going to die written all over it. And I don't even know why they're telegraphing that so hard. And honestly, if they don't kill them, it seems like such a weird, really intentional trick by the marketing to make us think that one of them is going to die or both of them are going to die, because that was my impression. And this trailer does nothing to quell those quote unquote fears or, whatever, what have you, because I think Tom Hardy is done with the character anyways. But I just am so convinced that probably Venom is going to die, and maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to kill Venom, right? Because as we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home, just a little bit of symbiote goo can kind of just seep out and turn into another Venom. And, we'll see what happens with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. But I think that it's just really trying to telegraph that, hey, this is the end. So come out and see Tom Hardy do his goofy shtick one more time. It's not really a shtick, but, do his goofy thing one more time. And then we'll be on our way with other Spider-Man adjacent films. Now, what's interesting to me about this, though, is that, it looks like Tom Hardy is insisting this is the last one. It seems like the trailers are insisting this is the last one. And yet, of the Sony Spider-Man universe films, honestly, the Venom films have been the only remotely successful things that they have produced, because the other two things they have produced are Morbius and Madam Web. And guess what? Kraven the Hunter, Kraven the Hunter could be the next big success and it could be the next franchise. Even if that's the case, it's going to be the only one, because at that point Venom is going to be over. And if Kraven the Hunter doesn't do well, then what are you going to do at that point? You can't, I don't think you're going to force Tom Hardy to make Venom 4 if he's not contractually obligated to do so. Maybe you make Venom 4 anyways with another actor. I don't even know. But I think that, I think what's going to be more interesting, honestly, than after what happened, what's more interesting than what happens in Venom 3, because I think Venom 3 is just going to be a fun ride through the symbiote world or whatever. But I think what's more interesting to me is going to be what is going to happen in the coming months after this third Venom film comes out, because I think that we'll see what the health of that Spider-Man universe is, especially because obviously Sony is making all the money they want, and we'll obviously be talking about Spider-Man 4. So they'll continue to make all the money that they want off of the Spider-Man character. But what about the Spider-Man adjacent characters? What happens after the most successful, critically and financially thing that you've done in the movie universe? What happens when that goes away? Obviously, they have other things they can resort to, like the Into the Spider-Verse films. They have Spider-Man Noir that's coming out that seems very interesting, and they have the Tom Holland Spider-Man films. But they've been trying so hard to make this adjacent universe, especially with Venom coming in the MCU for just a little bit, that I'd be so curious to see what happens after that. So you'll have to let me know in the comments down below. Are you excited for Venom: The Last Dance? Did you see the trailer? What did you think about it? Let me know in the comments down below.